Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we'll go through adding and subtracting terms. Now, when you add or subtract terms, it's called collecting like terms. So what are like terms? Well, two terms are said to be like terms if they have the exact same sequence of pronumerals. So it turns out you can only add or subtract terms if they are like terms. So remember, a term is just a sequence of numbers and letters. If the letters are the same with two terms, then they're like terms. So let's look at some examples of terms that are like terms. So for example, 4x and 5x, they are like terms. 4x is a term, 5x is a term, and they are like terms because they both have one x. They have the same pronumerals. Remember, pronumeral just means the letter. So it doesn't matter that the coefficients or the numbers are different. That's not what we're looking at when we're talking like terms. So these are like terms because they have the same pronumeral, and that means I can actually add these two terms together. Other examples, say 7c and minus 3c. They're like terms as well. They both have the same letter, same pronumeral, which is c. So it turns out the terms 2ab and 5ba, they would be examples of like terms. Now, the order in which things are written doesn't matter. Remember, this is 2 times a times b. When you're multiplying things, the order doesn't matter. So AB and BA are the exact same thing. So these two terms are like terms because they have one A and also one B. It doesn't matter that they're written in a different order. So for all of these terms, these two here, and these two here, we would be able to add them together. So let's look at examples of terms that are not like terms. So the terms 3x and 4y, they are not like terms because this first term has an x, this second term has a y. So these two terms have different pronumerals or different letters. So it turns out that we can't actually add those together. If terms are not like terms, we can't add them together. So you can't add 3x and 4y. You can't simplify them in any way. So something like 4abc and 5bcd. So these are both terms, but this one has an A, this one does not have an A. This one has a D, this one does not have a D. This term and this term do not have the same sequence of pronumerals. Their pronumerals or letters are different, and therefore they are not like terms. So one example that people often find confusing, x and x squared. They are not like terms. So you're probably thinking, well, how does that make sense? Both of them have an x. Well, that's true. But remember, x squared is the same as x multiplied by x. This term has 2 x's. This term only has 1 x. That's why these two are not like terms. So again, you cannot add x and x squared. They're not like terms because this has 2 x's and this has 1 x. So they have to have the same pronumerals, but also they have to have the same number of each pronumeral. And because this has 2 x's, this only has 1, they are not like terms. So the terms, say 7 and 7y, they are not like terms. They have the same coefficient, 7, but this term does not have a y. This term does. They don't have the same pronumerals, and therefore they're not like terms. So once again, you can only add or subtract terms that are like terms. Because these two terms are not like terms, you cannot add or subtract them. All right, let's look at some examples now where we're collecting like terms. So we're going to have a go at collecting the like terms in each of these examples. So what you have to do is determine whether or not the terms are like terms. If they are like terms, then you can add or subtract them together. So to add or subtract like terms, all you do is add or subtract, depending on what the question asks you. You do that to the coefficients, which means number in front of. So let's look at this one here. 7x and 3x are like terms. They both have 1x as their pronumeral. So to simplify this by collecting like terms, we just add the coefficients, coefficient number in front of. So 7 plus 3 is 10, and then we write the pronumeral. So we get 10x. If you have 7x's and someone gives you 3x's, you now have 10x's. So let's look at this one here. Same idea except we're minusing. 8a and a are like terms. So you're probably thinking, well, this one here doesn't have a coefficient, but remember, a is the same as 1a, just like x and 1x are the same thing. Y and 1y are the same thing. So a and 1a are the same thing. So because these are like terms, we can subtract them, and we just subtract the coefficients. 8 minus 1 is 7. I get 7a. If you have 8 a's, someone takes away an a, you have 7 a's. All right, so these two here are like terms. They both have an x and a y. It doesn't matter that the x is written first here and second here. Remember on the previous slide, all that matters is they have the same sequence of pronumerals. They're like terms, we add them together. So 4 plus 5 is 9, and then I just write the pronumerals. It doesn't matter whether I write 9xy or 9yx, because these two things, this and this, are exactly the same thing. All right, let's look at this example here. This time we have 1, 2, 3 terms, but none of them are like terms. 7a, 3ab, and 4b, they all have a different sequence of pronumerals. So I actually can't simplify this any further. So this is as simple as it gets. I can't do anything with it because there are no like terms, and I can only add or subtract like terms. All right, let's look at this example here. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. When you have multiple terms, look for the like terms. So this term here and this term here are like terms. This term here and this term here are like terms. So what we're going to do is put the two blues together, collect those like terms, and then put the two greens together, collect those like terms. So the blues, 10x minus 4x. This is not 4x this term, it's minus 4x. The minus belongs to the number and the letter after it. So 10x minus 4x, that just gives you 6x. And then we have 3y minus 7y. So again, we're just going to perform the operation on the coefficients. So we go 3 minus 7. Hopefully you remember from directed numbers, that's minus 4. So we get 6x minus 4y. I can't simplify this answer. These two are not like terms. So we're going to do something similar in this final example here. So again, we have 4 terms. We look for the like terms. So 7x and not 8, but minus 8x. Those two are like terms. So I can do 7x minus 8x. 7 minus 8 is just minus 1. Perform on the coefficients and then just write the letter. Now these two numbers, these two terms have no pronumerals, so they are like terms. We can work with numbers the same way we've always done. We know that minus 5 plus 12 just gives positive 7. So then we're done. Remember, if you have two numbers, they are always like terms. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.